Jesus Christ, that was hard.
Welcome to our 5th episode. Sup, Sexy Peas? Welcome to Sexy Peas, recipes to give you confidence in the kitchen. All right, so this week's drink is beer. There are lots of different methods to transport beer. One of them is a can, has some pop top, sure you've seen that. The other is a bottle. Some of them have a screw top, like Budweiser, Bud Light, those have screw tops. These smaller breweries will sometimes have pop tops. So there's not a lot of cool stuff you can do with beers until you're really drunk, and then it's really funny. But some of the cool things you can do is drink out of cool glasses, like this one that looks like it has a golf ball lodged in it. This was a gift from 2 very special people. I love it very much. The other cool thing you can do is just to have cool bottle openers. This is a traditional one that just laps over the edge, but you can also get fun ones. This one's a fish or a shark, which isn't a fish. Is a shark a fish? Shark is a fish. This is the back side of the wine key. That's an opener. You can use that, pull it up. This was from Chicago, from a building that was demolished. I don't know, it should have a better story, but I don't remember what it is. So latch it, pull it off. You always want to have a little bit of bubbles in your beer. A lot of people will pour it sideways, try to get none, but you want to get that air inside. Most bartenders will tell you just drop it right to the bottom of the glass, let it foam up, wait for the foam to dissipate, and refill it. So there you go with beer. There's also one more option, which is the chilled mug, which are always kept in the freezer. They look normal until you pull them out, and then they start to get a little frosty. This keeps your beer cooler a little longer. The frosty mug, in my experience, will foam up a little faster than just a regular glass, so be leery of that. Cheers, mates. Okay. Is it recording?
Yep.
So our staples this week are 2 different things. One is just a pot that's big enough to make soup in. This is a 3-quart pot, which is typically big enough to make a soup for a family. And then the other staple is beer mugs. So you can either have a mug or a cool glass. Either one is fine. That's really good. You should taste that. Our general rule this week is based around the idea that you're going to be cooking stuff from a bag or from a box or from some way that somebody's manufactured it and they have instructions on the bag. So what you always want to do is read the instructions before you throw the bag away. Read them. This one's really simple. We're going to have 8 cups of water. We're going to whisk in this bag of soup and we're going to let it cook for 10 minutes. This is what you never want to do while you're cooking. You never want to go, oh, shit, and get in the trash. You never want to go digging in the trash while you're cooking. That looks, generally speaking, bad. So don't do that. Okay. So our recipe this week is a very simple chicken noodle soup. There are all kinds of pre-manufactured soups, and basically all you do is you warm up some water, you pour in the soup mix, and you let it cook for 10 minutes, and you're done. Very simple. This one, as I said, the instructions are very simple. Bring the water to a boil, whisk in the bag of stuff, let it cook, let it simmer for 10 minutes. It's very simple. Now, we don't want to really get into measuring yet, but I'm going to give you a trick just in case you are not comfortable using measuring cups. This calls for 8 cups of water. If you're comfortable with something like this and you want to measure out 8 cups of water, do it. That's fine. Doesn't have to be exact, it just has to be a rough size. Another way, simple way to do it is to take your pot and read the bottom of it, because the bottom of them will typically tell you what size they are. I need 8 cups of water. I know that this pan is 12 cups of water because that's the size of it. So basically I'm going to fill it 2/3 of the way full of water. Pretty simple. So there we go, 2/3 of the way full. We're going to set it over our flame, turn our flame on, it's a stove, that's how they work. What you don't want to do when you're trying to warm something up, so you have to have a lot of flame underneath it, you don't need the flame coming out to the sides of the pan, past the sides of the pan, so you can turn it down so it stays under the pan. Slows the process a little bit, but it keeps you from burning your handles, which I've done many times. This one fortunately has a metal sleeve underneath, so it doesn't burn anymore. Now we gotta wait for that to warm up. You good now? All right, here's our toast for the week. Shit, I forgot it already. I got it. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. May we get what we want, but never what we deserve. Tastes better with a golf ball in it, I think. Okay. Are you ready? Is it recording now? Mm-hmm. Okay, then I'm going to keep going. Normally I would just leave this on the stove, but I figured just for visibility, to make it a little easier to see, I would go ahead and bring it over here. So the water is at a boil now. It's not since I took it off the heat, but as soon as I put it back on, it will. So we're just going to cut it open. The instructions say to whisk this in. There's basically two kinds of whisk. There's this kind, which has a rubber coating on it, and then there's the kind that's just all metal, like this one. I typically use a coated one, and the reason for that is because if I'm using a pot or a pan that has a special coating on it, the metal can scratch it. So if you get them with a rubber coating, it's essentially the same price. You can bang it around the edges and it doesn't really matter. So when this says to whisk it in, you're supposed to slowly pour it in and continue stirring, blah, blah. But it really doesn't matter. You can just dump the whole thing in, stir it up. There we go. And you'll notice in this one specifically, I'm sure you'll see it in other ones, that there are chunks of seasoning that exist. Just break those up, and you can do that by simply stirring slowly. Don't stir it quickly. You don't want to splash this on you. Remember, this water is boiling. It's 212 plus. You don't want to splash it on you. So just do it slowly. Get a good mix together, and then we'll put it back on the heat. Now, I'm back. Now we can throw this away because the only instruction left is boiling for 10 minutes. Let's get it back on the stove. Be careful because it's hot. Now we're going to bring it back to a boil, but we're only going to simmer it for the rest of the time. So that means we're going to put it on a low heat, just enough so you see a couple of bubbles popping up. It doesn't need to be broiling really active. It just needs to have a little bit of heat under it so we can heat up all the ingredients. That's essentially all we're doing. You'll want to periodically, just to be safe, stir it up. You might as well use your whisk. You already have it out. It's already dirty. You can touch the edges, move it around. And what I usually do is I'll take this and set it in my spoon holder around the edge. Don't put it too close to the fire because it will heat up and you'll burn the shit out of yourself. Just an FYI. It's a voice of experience. That's it. Let it heat for 10 minutes. Turn the heat off. Serve it up. There we go. If you want to go faster than the speed that we are going, or if you want to watch old episodes, if you want to get prepared for what you're going to need for next week's episode, you can go to sexapiece.com. It's spelled sexapiece.com. There's a link below where you can click on that. And enjoy the kitchen. We'll see you next week. then, okay, so our general rule this week, this is one you want to do. You want to make sure you do it. Fuck that, leave all that out. All right, I'm just going to roll straight into the recipe. Okay. Put this away. 632. I'm going to do that while, I don't know if you want to let it run or. It's also 14 seconds. I just happen to know that because I like numbers.